G'day Mark and everybody in the US. My name's Luke Jolliffe. I'm Chief Winemaker at Stella Bella Wines, and today you're in our Carradale barrel cellar where all of our best wines are kept. So yeah, just wanted to, given the current situation, give you a bit of an update on who we are, what we do, taste through some wines. I guess giving you a bit of background on me, I've been at Stella Bella for 13 years. And it's been the chief winemaker since the 2014 vintage. And I guess what I really think one of the great strengths of Stella Bella and of what we do here is, basically our vineyards and all the people who work with us. One of the key people who I know you speak to a lot is Sharon Batley, our sales manager. So I'll just quickly introduce Sharon.
Hi everyone.
And so basically we're probably the people you speak to. Well, Sharon will be the main person you speak to regarding everything sales. And from a wine point of view, I guess Sharon's my right-hand woman in this situation. But anyway, what is Stella Bella? What are we about? What do we do? So we classify ourselves, primarily as a Southern Margaret River producer. Margaret River's 100 kilometres, I don't know what that is in miles, but 60, 70 miles, something like that, north to south, and probably 20 miles east to west. So, if you're north of Margaret River, it's going to be a lot warmer. If you're south of Margaret River, it's going to be a fair bit cooler, and we classify ourselves as, a cooler Southern Margaret River producer. And what does that mean? What does that mean with our wine styles, and what does that mean about what we do? We tend to find our wines have this lovely natural acidity. We don't need to add anything to our wines. They have lovely vibrance about them. They tend to be really fresh and bright and very abundantly aromatic. And I guess because of that, we've got five vineyards spread from the Margaret River Township going all the way south down to the most southern vineyard in Margaret River, which is our Suckfizzle vineyard. So not only does Stella Bella do the Stella Bella range, but obviously we've got Scuttlebutt, which is our entry level, and Suckfizzle and Luminosa, which are our single vineyard wines. So we think there's some really prestigious vineyards and produce some really amazing wines that I guess have won many wine show awards, many wine show trophies here in Australia, including some of the the most respected. Sharon, from your point of view?
I think it's the distinction of the southern Margaret River profile of the wines that we produce, and we're able to produce from these amazing vineyards.
All right. Well, what is the profile? I mean, from a Cabernet point of view, I think the profile is, really perfumed, like starting with, a violet perfume. We try to make them sort of very much red fruits, blue fruits, and depending on the year will depend on, what sort of red and blue fruits you get from our Cabernet. From a Shiraz point of view, very plum focused, very red fruit focused, but also very medium bodied. We're never going to be a full bodied, really rich wine. We try to make more elegant styles with our wines, and that's a focus. From a Chardonnay point of view, I think we've got a really distinct pithy fruit flavour. So lime pith, lemon pith, grapefruit pith, and I guess with a beautiful line and tension through the palate, which is driven by the balance of phenolics, the acidity and the flavour that basically comes from the vineyard. Like I said, the Luminosa and Suckfizzle are both, I guess, they both are single vineyard wines, so we can only do what we can do, and fortunately for us, the flavours are really, really unique. Yeah. All right.
Let's go on and taste some wines.
G'day again. So, just going to take you through a quick tasting. We're going to start with our Chardonnays. So, firstly, starting with our 2018 Stella Bella Chardonnay. For me, this is our best value Chardonnay. It's a blend of our 5 vineyards, all from Southern Margaret River, and it's 100% wild ferment, spends 10 months in oak, and the reason why I think it's the best value is everything that gets done to the Luminosa and the Suckfizzle is done to this. But we try to make this wine, I guess, in some cases, a richer wine than the Luminosa and the Suckfizzle wines, because it just has a blending component from each of our particular vineyards. So probably 14 separate parcels, 25 to 30% new oak, 100% wild ferment, and 10 months in oak. Obviously all French oak from what we do here, and a little bit of puncheon, so 500 litres, but majority barrique, so 225 to 228 litres. So in terms of what do I try to do with the wine, the main decision for me is always the harvesting decision, because that governs what sort of style and what sort of flavour. In terms of Beaumay, we would harvest, more or less between, 12 and 13. I don't like to go much over 13, especially from a wild fermentation point of view. The wild yeast don't tend to like high alcohols, and I don't like high alcohols in Chardonnay. But I guess one of the key factors for me is the acidity in the wines. Through all of the Chardonnays that we produce, the acidity is a really, really big factor in terms of what we do. I try to get a lot of punch out of the glass from an aromatic perspective, and the way we do that is by managing our sulfides. There will be some sulfides in this wine, and that's intentional. We want to have some interest, some character for that wine to evolve in the glass from the time you pour it to the time you finish the bottle. I mean, especially from a Stella Bella point of view, we expect this, a lot of people will take it home, have it at restaurants and accompany with food. From my point of view, the food matches. My favourite's pork belly. You've got the lovely acidity cutting through that, delicious sort of pork fat. It's a really amazing combination, but, mushrooms, sort of risottos, anything with truffle can work too. But so I guess, getting back to the making of the Stella Bella Chardonnay, 14 different, separate parcels of fruit, but, some of them will be 2 barrels, some of them will be 10 barrels. So they're all quite small in the scheme of things, but, the flavours that come through in this wine, once it opens up, I find it like a peach fuzz character. So smelling the outside of a ripe peach, but then you've got an almond meal, a nutty nougat, but then you come into the beautiful lime and citrus acidity. Yeah, so, for me, it really opens up with this, gunflint aroma, which is the sulfide that we're looking for. And the way we achieve that is by, not too much batonnage in the wine. So we stir it a little bit, but not too much. We want to maintain that jump out of the glass. Go, oh, what's that? What aroma is that I'm seeing at the moment? Keep people interested. Excuse me while I spit the wine out, but yeah. Really fresh. What's the time? About 10 o'clock in the morning. I still feel like swallowing it. It's delicious. All right, moving on to Luminosa. In terms of hierarchy, there is no hierarchy between Suck Dizzle and Luminosa. They're both single vineyard wines. They're both amazing wines in their own, on their own. And Luminosa, we've got about 2.5 hectares, so acres, that'd be 5 to 6 acres of Chardonnay planted, in a really, I guess, prestigious spot in the Budgetup Valley of my river, which isn't really a big valley, but it's an area where the Budgetup Creek goes through. It's in the Wallcliff sub-region, and I guess this wine is quite, I guess for me, is really intense, but it's packaged in a way that it has so much flavour, but so much acidity and structure that it seems really elegant, if that makes sense. It's kind of it makes you think quite a lot. It's like this beautiful package of intense flavour, just coated with lovely texture and phenolics, and really, really unique, and will age for a very long time. Yeah, it's got this lovely saline oyster shell character coming through, which again is partially a sulfide thing, and I guess on top of that, for me, I just see, lime pith, kaffir lime leaf, and those sorts of things in the wine. Really, really fresh aroma. In terms of the way it's made, obviously from one vineyard, hand-picked, whole bunch pressed, like all of our Chardonnays, and from there, basically set to a certain turbidity that we think, has a big impact on the wine style and the wine flavour. Wild fermented and left. It's really pretty simple. It really comes down to what we do in the vineyard, this wine. Yeah, I guess the way I look at the Luminosa versus Stella Bella is, Stella Bella's got this lovely roundness and texture to it, whereas, the Luminosa is very precise down your palate. It's really, really precise in terms of more like a train track than this beautiful, you know, round, luscious thing. And I really like that in Chardonnay, for it to be a very focused and driven wine. And now, even after I've spat that wine out, you know, that grapefruit and, you know, a little bit of peachy sort of flavors are sitting on my palate. Righto. Now, Suck Fizzle. So this is the 2018 Suck Fizzle. It's only the second wine we've ever made from the Suck Fizzle vineyard, but the vines are 22 years old now. So very much in them, starting to get into their mature phase. One thing I guess that's consistent through all these three Chardonnays is the Gin clone of Chardonnay. So it's, I guess one thing that Margaret River's famous for, it's basically our clone. While it didn't originate here, it, you know, came from, it's also got a synonym called the Mendoza clone. Some people call it Mendoza, some call it Gin. And I guess what happened is, you know, some people think it actually could have relations back to the old Wente clone in the US, but you know, it's a topic that, you know, somebody can get into a pretty serious discussion or argument if you're in Margaret River. However, you know, I guess the key part of it is it has a lot of hen and chicken or Millerondage, so big berries, small berries. What does that do? How does that help us? Turbidity, so the solids that are in the juice. With those smaller berries, there's no seeds in them. When we press them, they get a lot of pulp in them. It also holds its acidity a lot longer than any other clone. Obviously, there are other clones in Margaret River, some of the Burgundian clones, but you know, this I think is true. Gin is true Margaret River Chardonnay from my perspective, and it's my preference. We're planting new vineyards at the moment with that. So Suck Fizzle is all of 6 meters in altitude. It's the most southern vineyard. It's the most unique vineyard in Margaret River, full stop. There's nothing like it. Basically, it's the Suck Fizzle vineyard, next stop Antarctica. So you're going to get these cool winds coming off the ocean. It's the coolest site in Margaret River, and it's going to basically have this amazing intensity. It's on an alluvial soil that has been eroded away over time, because obviously there's basically the ocean 2 kilometers from the vineyard, and also the Blackwood River, which hopefully you'll see some footage of that coming up. And the Blackwood River is a natural course of water, and that warms the vineyard site up at night time. It's a massive body of water. And I think this all creates this really unique microclimate for the Suck Fizzle vineyard. And ultimately, you get these incredible estuarine oyster shell sort of characters in this wine, which are super unique, and I don't see it in any of our other wines. So what we do, we only make 6 barrels of this wine. Probably 10 barrels of the Luminosa is all we can make from the production, and ultimately we just want to make the best wine we can. And this one has the most power and the most intensity from my point of view of any of the Chardonnays we make, but it also has the highest acidity at the same time. Yeah, amazing, I had to swallow that. Amazing gunflint and spice. You know, it's like this, it's sort of even almost like a peppery kind of spice. It's really, really unique. But then this oyster shell sort of character, very lemon and lime on the palate, and it will age a very, very long time. Okay, the final couple of wines. So starting with our 2019 Scuttlebutt Shiraz Rosé. There's been a lot of focus on the way we make rosé here at Stella Bella, and we've got specific vineyards which we produce specifically for this product to make these beautiful red fruit flavors, you know, perfume in the wines, and make sure that we get the right sunlight onto that fruit in the vineyard to make sure it's beautifully, you know, textured, but also have this lovely fresh aroma. You know, everybody wants to smell those red berries, those red fruits, musk, lots of florals coming out of the wine, but the wine not too heavy on the palate, because we don't want to have this alcoholic wine. We want to have a lovely balanced drink that leaves you with a beautiful fresh aftertaste. And for me, I think we've really achieved it with this wine. So we only take the free wine, we don't use any pressings. We find it, obviously, colour's exceptionally important with all rosé. And from there on, we just try to make it in a way that we're softening the wine using its own lees and phenolics. So don't want to get too in depth with winemaking, but basically we do a lot of fining of the wine with its own lees. So we sit there and we keep sort of moving the lees through the juice before we even start fermenting it. And to do that, what happens with that, it builds the texture of the wine. It makes the wine softer without having to add anything. Again, we don't add any acid to this wine. It doesn't need it. We pick it at 6.5 TA, so quite minimal acid, but enough to keep it super fresh. And we're really trying to look for those beautiful red fruit aromas, sort of musk and lovely strawberries and raspberries, all those things that you just love smelling. On the palate, soft, silky, textural, leaves you with red fruit in your mouth. Like, who doesn't like eating fresh strawberries and fresh raspberries? That's what I'm left with. So yeah, delicious one and super good value. Following on, our 2018 Stella Bella Shiraz. So again, this is from more of our southern Margaret River vineyard, so further south, so probably 10 k's from the the most southern tip where our Suckfizzle vineyard is. I don't know if you can see it, but amazing dark purple sort of colours, but it's medium bodied. It's not going to be a big Barossa Shiraz. That's not it. It's red fruits, it's cinnamon, it's got a little bit of spice, but not too much. It's a beautiful drinking wine. It's got structure and depth to it, but it's going to have this easy weight about it. It's going to be more of a feminine wine. A wine that you want to go back for another glass. In terms of making, there's a little bit of whole bunch in here. We try to not make that too obvious. 25% New Oak or French, and I guess the remaining 75% is made up of 2 to 5 year old French Oak. But yeah, try and keep this beautiful spice sitting in the wine, plums, a little bit of anise here or there, but yeah, really fresh fruit aroma. Yeah, on the palate, that plummy fruit just keeps on coming through, but really ripe, really interesting, and really salivating. And hopefully you found that through all the wines that you try, is we try to make the wines so they actually stimulate your palate. They don't dry it out. You don't need to have a steak to cut through all that tannin. You can just have a glass and be really content and really happy. And I think that's what it was one of the secrets behind why our wines have been so successful over the years. So hope this gave you a little bit more insight into what we do at Stella Bella, into the wines, and hope to see you soon.